3 months after her grandmother's funeral, a call from an unfamiliar bank caught Sarah Bennett mid-shift.
Miss Bennett, this is David Chen. We have a safe deposit box under the name Eleanor Vance. You're listed as co-signer.
Eleanor Vance. That was Grandma's maiden name. But the estate is closed.
Your grandmother opened this box years ago with you as the only co-signer. No one else accessed it.
3 months earlier, Sarah hadn't even been there when her cousins emptied the first box. The group text read, "Box was mostly old papers. We'll handle everything."
Sarah had let it go then, too heavy with grief to chase a lie, but now
The call snapped the past into sharp focus. They had lied to her face.
I'll be there first thing tomorrow morning.
She set the phone down, a slow burn replacing years of silence. Early the next morning, Sarah parked outside Cedar County Bank, a small brick building that had held a secret for years.
Miss Bennett, thank you for coming so quickly. Let me explain why we held this box in our records. Your grandmother, Eleanor Vance, opened it decades ago under her maiden name. You are the only co-signer named after her.
She knew. She knew they'd take everything they could see. This is what she left for me.
They descended a narrow staircase, the air growing cooler with each step toward the vault. David inserted the key, and the heavy door swung open, revealing a small metal box on a shelf. Inside lay 41 gold Krugerrands, 3 life insurance policies, and a cream envelope with handwriting Sarah recognized.
That envelope. I've seen that handwriting my whole life.
She unfolded the paper and read, "They will take what they can see. This is the half I left for the one who didn't fight."
They lied about the papers, they stole from her memory, and she protected me anyway.
Within the hour, Sarah sat in Martha Weiss's office, the safe deposit box contents spread across the mahogany desk.
Sarah, these are legitimate. 3 policies, each naming you as the sole beneficiary. Your grandmother left nothing to chance.
Martha slid a policy across, her finger tapping the beneficiary line, Sarah Bennett, irrevocable.
And the gold? My cousins think the estate is settled. They divided everything without me.
The Krugerrands are a gift outside the estate. You don't need their permission to claim what's legally yours.
The one who didn't fight, she saw them coming years ago.
Keep this quiet for now. File the insurance claims directly. Once they're processed, we update the probate inventory.
And my cousins? If they find out before I file?
They could contest, but this letter, its weight in court is heavy. Your grandmother wrote her intent plainly.
Sarah folded the letter, tucking it into her bag. She would tell no one. Not yet. The secret was hers to carry. Over the following weeks, Sarah filed the insurance claims with quiet efficiency, while her shifts at the hospital blurred together. On social media, Karen posted a photo of a new designer handbag, captioning it, "Treat yourself. You deserve it."
She saw it. They'd already spent what they stole, without a second thought.
Susan shared a gleaming photo beside a luxury sedan, keys dangling from her manicured fingers. Patricia's story featured a diamond necklace, glinting under boutique lights as she smiled for the camera.
They were celebrating their theft while she sat in her tiny apartment, guarding a secret that could burn them.
Then the first insurance payout arrived, a check for $200,000 made out solely to her.
She stared at the number. More money than she'd earned in 5 years, yet it felt heavy, not joyful.
She deposited the funds into a new account, one her cousins couldn't touch, and kept filing the remaining claims. The secret grew heavier, but so did her resolve. A week later, during a slow shift, Sarah's phone buzzed. Patricia.
Sarah, sweetie, I've been thinking. You've been so quiet since the funeral. Is everything okay with the estate?
Why is she calling now? She never calls. I've just been slammed with hospital shifts, Patricia. You know how it is.
Are you sure? Because we haven't heard a peep about any of Grandma's accounts. You'd tell us if something turned up, right?
There's nothing to tell. The box had papers, just like you said.
Well, keep us in the loop. We're family after all.
Sarah ended the call, her heart racing. Patricia was fishing, and she knew it.
Martha, My cousin just called probing about the estate. I think I need to file that amendment sooner rather than later.
Martha agreed. The probate amendment would put the second box on the public record, and the cousins would inevitably find out. But Sarah was ready. Sarah met Martha at her office the next day, the two of them finalizing the probate amendment line by line.
This amendment formally lists the second box's contents. Once filed, it's public. Your cousins will be notified by the court.
Will it hold up if they try to challenge it?
The letter and the co-signer designation make it almost ironclad. Your grandmother protected you well.
Later that afternoon, Sarah walked the long marble hallway of the county probate court, the amendment envelope heavy in her bag. She paused at the entrance, gathering herself. This was the point of no return. At the clerk's counter, she slid the document across. The clerk stamped it without a word. The official seal pressed into the paper with a soft thud. Sarah Bennett was now on record.
They'll see this. They'll know I kept quiet. And they'll come for me. But it's the truth.
The amendment was public. The clock started ticking. Sarah waited for the explosion she knew would come. Karen ripped open the probate court envelope in her kitchen, her sisters crowding behind her.
What the hell is this? Amended inventory of estate assets? Grandma had a second safe deposit box?
And Sarah is the only co-signer? That sneaky little she knew all along?
She played us. She let us think the box was empty while she was sitting on a fortune.
The amendment listed 41 gold Krugerrands and 3 insurance policies totaling $600,000, all payable to Sarah Bennett.
She can't keep this. It belongs to the family. We'll demand she split it equally.
But she'll fight. She's already got a lawyer.
Then we'll get one too. We're not letting her get away with this.
Their voices rose with fury and greed, the room thick with a sense of betrayal they refused to recognize as their own. Sarah had been waiting for this explosion, and now the fuse was lit. Sarah's phone rang that evening, all 3 cousins on the line.
Sarah, we saw the amendment. You have a second box full of gold and insurance money. You need to share it. It's only fair.
You went behind our backs with a lawyer. That's not how family behaves.
Don't play innocent. You let us think the box was just papers while you were hiding a fortune.
Sarah didn't argue. She tapped her phone calmly and sent a single screenshot. The image that appeared on their phones was their own group message. Box was mostly old papers.
You kept that text? You're pathetic, Sarah. That doesn't change anything.
We'll see you in court. You'll be forced to share, and everyone will know what you did.
You think a screenshot protects you? We'll sue, and you'll lose everything.
Sarah ended the call without another word, their threats still ringing in her ears. The war had begun. A week later, a process server handed her a thick envelope at her apartment door. The lawsuit was now a physical reality, not just a threat.
She unfolded the complaint. The caption read, Ford et al. V. Bennett, contest of beneficiary designation. They were suing her for everything.
In Martha's office, the attorney studied the papers. Their case is weak. The letter is strong evidence. It shows intent clearly.
Sarah's voice was tight. But they'll fight hard. How long will this take? How much will it cost?
Months, maybe a year. Litigation is never quick or cheap, but the facts don't change.
I might spend a fortune just to defend what's mine. The irony stung like a fresh wound.
Later, in her apartment, Sarah stared at the stack of papers. The weight of it all pressed down like a stone. Discovery notices and deposition schedules arrived weekly. Every envelope brought a new motion, a new demand.
She held on to one thought. She was fighting for her grandmother, the one who didn't fight.
The family was divided by law, not silence. The battle for the second vault had truly begun. 3 weeks later, in a sterile conference room, a mediator tried to find common ground that didn't exist.
Sarah, be reasonable. Split it 4 ways. We're family, for God's sake.
You manipulated Grandma? She wasn't thinking clearly when she wrote that letter.
Admit it was a mistake. Give us each a quarter and we'll drop this whole thing.
Sarah had said nothing for 40 minutes. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a cream envelope.
Let me read what Grandma left for me. They will take what they can see. This is the half I left for the one who didn't fight.
The room froze. Karen's face drained of color.
You think that changes anything? She was old and confused.
The mediator closed her folder. We're at an impasse. This matter will proceed to trial. Mediation had failed. The family walked out colder and more fractured than when they'd entered. Martha subpoenaed records from the First Bank. Within a week, a grainy security still arrived, showing the cousins at the vault table. Cash and jewelry was spread before them as one of them filled in the inventory sheet they later claimed was empty.
The inventory they submitted to the estate lists only documents. The video contradicts it directly. This is fraud.
So they didn't just lie to me, they falsified court documents. The betrayal sharpened into something criminal.
Martha also discovered that Karen had notarized 2 estate affidavits with an expired commission, leaving them legally void.
An expired notary stamp means those documents have no legal weight. Karen may have committed a misdemeanor.
Sarah felt a grim satisfaction. The cousins who called her sneaky had been the ones playing dirty all along.
Martha filed the new evidence with the court, adding it to the growing file that painted the cousins as dishonest.
The judge will see a pattern. They lied about the first box, falsified documents, and are now trying to take what was explicitly given to you.
Then let the judge see it. I'm done hiding.
The trial began on a gray Tuesday. The courtroom felt smaller with all the family history packed into it. Sarah took the stand. Her voice was quiet but steady as she described her job, her grandmother's trust, and the shock of David Chen's call.
I never expected a second box. But when I found it, I knew what my grandmother wanted. She named me for a reason.
The cousin's lawyer leaned in, asking if she felt entitled to money her family needed.
I didn't ask for this fight. I only kept what my grandmother gave me. They took their share and lied about it.
The lawyer pressed harder, but Sarah didn't flinch. The letter from Eleanor Vance sat on the evidence table like a third presence.
They want me to crack, but I'm not the one who forged notary stamps or lied about an empty box.
As closing arguments approached, Martha leaned over. We can still settle. Avoid the gamble.
No. I've come this far. Let the judge read the letter and watch the video. She'll know the truth.
The trial moved to closing arguments. Sarah sat with her hands clasped, the weight of her grandmother's words the only shield she needed. 2 days later, the judge returned to a packed courtroom. The silence was heavier than any argument. She held up the letter from Eleanor Vance and read the line that had become the case's moral center. They will take what they can see. This is the half I left for the one who didn't fight. The judge closed the letter and began. The second safe deposit box was a separate gift. Sarah Bennett was the sole beneficiary. The gold and polices were hers. The cousins' case was dismissed with prejudice, each ordered to pay their own legal fees.
She'd won, but tears gathered in her eyes. Part of her still ached for the family she had lost.
Karen's face contorted with rage. Susan stared at the floor. Patricia sat frozen, her painted lips now a tight slash. The judge struck the gavel. The sound echoed like a door closing on years of deceit.
All that money and all that pain, was it worth it? Her grandmother's face came to mind, and the answer was yes.
Martha leaned in and told her she had done the right thing. Sarah nodded, her hands still trembling. In the marble hallway outside, the cousins intercepted her, their faces twisted with fury.
You think you've won? You'll regret this.
You're dead to us. Don't ever speak to us again.
Sarah said nothing. She adjusted her bag and walked into the autumn sunlight. Over the next month, she cashed the remaining insurance policies and sold 6 Krugerrands. The sum was staggering.
More than $600,000. She could live free, give back, and never worry again.
She paid off her small house, then sat in her hospital office and planned a gift that would outlast her. The Eleanor Vance Scholarship Fund, for nursing students who had no one to fight for them.
Grandma would have wept. This was how you honored a gift, by passing it on.
The framed photo and the remaining gold sat on her desk, two symbols of a promise kept. Within 6 months, Karen's house entered foreclosure. The inheritance and legal fees had bled her dry.
This was Susan's fault. She pushed us to fight.
Susan returned the luxury sedan under a cloud of debt, her credit destroyed.
If Patricia hadn't insisted on the lawsuit, we'd still have something.
Patricia sold her diamond necklace at a grim pawn shop for a fraction of its original value.
They blame me, but I'm not the one who notarized false documents and got us caught.
Their social media fell silent. No new photos of smug luxury, only the hum of absence. The glittering images of wealth were replaced by a void that felt like shame. The family fracture was complete. Not one of them reached out to Sarah. She did not reach back. The silence became permanent. 1 year after the trial, Sarah drove through autumn roads ablaze with gold and crimson. She carried a small bouquet of white roses and a single gold Krugerrand.
She had won, but this visit felt different, quieter, like closing a book she'd finally finished reading.
She knelt, placing the roses at the base of the stone.
Thank you for seeing me.
She set the Krugerrand on the polished granite, where it caught the golden hour light.
The real gift wasn't the vault hidden under a maiden name. It was being the one she trusted.
She stood, taking a long breath that seemed to loosen something tight inside her chest. Without looking back, she walked the path toward the road, her shadow stretching long before her. Sarah Bennett had fought for the truth, and now she was finally done. The drive back from the cemetery was quiet, the autumn colors blurring into soft streaks of gold.
She'd buried the anger here next to the roses and the Krugerrand. Whatever was left was just peace.
The next morning at the hospital, a letter waited on her desk from the scholarship committee.
The first recipient started this fall. A young woman from a tiny town, just like Eleanor Vance herself.
She pinned the thank you note next to her grandmother's photo on the corkboard, a new tradition taking root.
The money was paper. This, a stranger's future brightening because of Eleanor's foresight, was the real legacy.
Martha Weiss called that afternoon with a final piece of news. The probate file was officially closed, no appeals.
Thanks, Martha, for everything. I'll never forget what you helped me protect.
That evening, she looked at the gold on her shelf, each coin a chapter closed.
You always told me family was whoever shows up. You showed up, Grandma. I just carried it home.
2 years later, the Eleanor Vance Scholarship held its first awards ceremony in the hospital atrium.
This fund exists because one woman saw what others refused to see. She saw me, and now we see you.
Later that week, the final Krugerrand was sold for the fund. Only her grandmother's photo remained on the shelf.
The coins were meant to be spent, just like she'd intended. They were never the point.
She checked her phone. A notification. Probate closed, no further claims. The case number that had defined her life was now a sealed record. Sarah set the phone down and looked out her window at the quiet street. The war was over. Across town, a foreclosure auction sign was hammered into Karen's front lawn. No one from the family attended. Susan's sedan was repossessed, and Patricia's necklace never appeared on her social media again. The silence held.
Some silences were chosen, some were earned. And this was both.
The photo of Eleanor Vance watched over the empty shelf. Not a vault anymore, just a promise kept. Spring came again in the hospital lobby. A new plaque listed scholarship recipients, each name a quiet echo of Eleanor Vance.
5 students now, 5 futures built from a single act of foresight. This is how you defeat greed.
The hospital had become her second family. She trained new staff, her name now a quiet authority in the scheduling office. On her shelf, beside Eleanor's photo, she kept the first thank you letter from a scholarship student. The ink had begun to fade.
The vault was never about gold. It was proof that someone had seen her clearly, and that was enough to change everything.
On a Sunday morning, she walked the old cemetery path again, but this time she didn't carry a coin. She carried only peace. At the headstone, wild violets had grown where the Krugerrand once lay. The gold was gone, but the color remained.
She didn't stop to cry this time. She simply stood, breathed in the spring air, and gave a small nod to the stone.
As she turned to leave, the wind stirred the trees, and for a moment the whole cemetery seemed to exhale. Sarah Bennett walked home under a bright sky. The fight was over. The peace was earned, and she was at last whole. 3 months after the spring cemetery visit, a familiar number appeared on Sarah's phone, Cedar County Bank.
Miss Bennett, our vault is being renovated. All boxes must be cleared. Your grandmother's box is officially yours to keep or discard.
I'll come pick it up. It's just a metal box now, but I know exactly where it belongs.
She drove to the bank the next Saturday. The stairs to the vault felt smaller now, the weight of the past already lifted. In the viewing room, the same open box she had first seen 3 years ago, empty now, its gold and paper long since given purpose.
This held a fortune, but more than that, it held proof that she knew me better than anyone.
She took the box home and placed it on the shelf beneath her grandmother's photo, a quiet monument to a promise kept. Beside it, the scholarship fund statement showed 4 new names, and the thank you notes had grown into a stack.
The vault they hid from everyone became the legacy no one could hide. Eleanor Vance won in the end.
The second vault was no longer a secret. It was a story, and Sarah kept telling it through every act of quiet defiance against greed. On a quiet evening, years after the trial, Sarah sat by her window with a cup of tea, the city hum barely a murmur.
The anger was a distant memory now. What remained was gratitude, clean and steady.
She glanced at the shelf, where the empty safe deposit box rested beneath her grandmother's photograph.
An empty box that once held a fortune, now holding only a story. It was lighter that way.
The scholarship fund had grown to 10 recipients, each a quiet continuation of Eleanor's hope.
She never expected an inheritance. She inherited a purpose.
Outside, the street was still, the sunset painting the walls in soft gold. Sarah rose, walked to the shelf, and straightened the photograph, a gesture she repeated whenever she needed to feel anchored.
The vault was just a box, but being seen, that was the gift that never stopped giving.
She smiled, turned off the lamp, and let the quiet settle. The story was complete. The next morning dawned like any other, but Sarah woke with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. She dressed, brewed coffee, and stood before the shelf where the empty box sat like a quiet relic.
All that fighting, all that silence. It led here to this calm.
She touched the photograph's frame, her grandmother's gaze steady and knowing.
You saw me. That was enough.
Later at the hospital, a young nurse stopped her in the hall. She was a scholarship recipient, her eyes full of the same quiet resolve Eleanor once had.
Thank you for the fund. It changed everything for me.
Sarah only nodded, feeling the circle close. The gift had become a living chain. She walked on through the sunlit lobby, carrying nothing but the weightless knowledge that some promises outlive the grave, and the story of the second vault, born from a grandmother's quiet foresight, had become her own, told not in whispers but in lives forever changed.